Just wanted to come on here, just give a brief word here. This morning I was spending time with God and I just heard something in the spirit realm. And I want to talk about a little bit about witchcraft, because if churches do not begin to teach and expose witchcraft, you're going to lose a whole generation. We're going to lose a whole generation if churches do not begin to teach on and expose witchcraft. We are going to lose a whole generation, and you're going to miss God. You're going to miss God. Also, if you don't begin to speak against and expose witchcraft, your God ordained church could become a cult. Your God ordained church could become a cult. Okay? Yeah. This is just something I heard and I saw in the spirit realm this morning. So I just want to talk about how witchcraft, how it affects children when parents are involved in it. Okay, so when parents get involved in witchcraft, say they go and pay some money to some witch doctor for something, and they believe that they are making exchange, that for money they're getting some type of spell. Okay, and but however, though, I'm going to talk about those who are ignorant to the spirit realm and who really do not understand what is going on in the spirit realm. Okay, so when a parent goes, or when a parent participates in any form of witchcraft, they, if they're using money, then they're paying for some type of spell or something. Okay, but spiritually, they don't understand that they are actually not only selling their soul to Satan, but the soul of their children is being sold as well. So what this parent is really doing is giving Satan legal access. Okay, so they're giving Satan legal access to not only their souls but their children's souls. Okay, so this exchange that is taking place, they think that they're just spending more money to receive some type of spell, but there's much more that is going on here in the spirit realm. There's much more activity that is going on in the spirit realm. So pretty much we know that Satan is behind witchcraft. So the person is considered the witch doctor, who's actually receiving the money to give someone a spell, the money part is just a cover up. Okay, the money part is just a cover up. There's a lot more that's being exchanged here than money. Like people's lives are being exchanged without the person, or let's say the parent, not even being aware that they're putting their own children lives in jeopardy because of what they are participating in. Okay, now let me talk about when Judas sold Jesus out. So Jesus sold Judas out for what? Money. He sold Jesus out for money. So he sold a man's life for money. And so in exchange, Satan got the life that he wanted, and the person received money. But we know that was a lot more at stake than that, right? So just how it is when people participate in witchcraft, they are exchanging money. There's a money being exchanged for some type of spell. But little does the person know that behind the scenes in the spirit realm, there's a lot more that's actually being exchanged than money and a spell. Okay, so a lot of times we see this. I've seen this in ministry, where there are certain people who it seems as if it's a battle for them to even come to church. It's like it's a battle for them to even come to church. Have you ever invited somebody to church and then they don't show up, and then when you see them, hey, what happened? And they're like, man, all hell broke loose starting Saturday. All kind of hell broke loose. All type of attacks came at us from Saturday to Sunday, and we couldn't make it. Not all the time, but sometimes this is an indication that witchcraft is at play in the person's life, and they may not even be aware of it. Why? Because they may not be aware of what their parents have done. Okay. So a lot of times people are fighting things, and they have no idea why they're fighting these things or why these things are fighting them. There are some people where it seems it's almost impossible for them to give their lives to God. It's almost impossible for them to give their lives to God and to live for God. And a lot of times it's because witchcraft is at play. Little do they know that their souls probably have been exchanged because of something that their parents did. So now the enemy has legal access to someone and they don't even know it. Not only that, but say people do make it to church. And say, for instance, like during a worship, you can see it on people's faces that they're really struggling in worship. Why? Because the enemy is attacking them. He's attacking their mind, trying to get them to just leave abruptly. And some it happens, right? You have seen people when worship is taking place, and you can see it in people's face, demonic activity. They're being fought, attacks are being launched against them. And sometimes they just leave out abruptly. A lot of times this is a sign that witchcraft is at work in the person's life. And this is why it is so important that in these days that we are in, if you don't have a prophetic ministry, if you don't have a prophetic ministry, you're going to miss a move of God. You're going to lose a generation. Because when you have prophetic ministry in operation, they're able to pick up on the assignment of the enemy in the atmosphere during worship. You need prophetic people on your worship team who can pick up on the assignment of the enemy during worship, who can look out in the audience and they can pick up on the assignment or the attack that the enemy is launching on the individual, and they can begin to speak into the atmosphere and break the captives free and set the captives free. Okay, so a lot of times the reason why people are at the altar every Sunday, the same people at the altar every Sunday, this could be why. This could be why. And sometimes they're embarrassed. They'll go to another church, get on their altar. Why? Because they just don't have the assurance, the knowing that I am really saved. Why? Because sometimes it's because their lives have been exchanged. Their souls have been exchanged. They're trying to give their soul to Jesus, but don't know that because of something that their parents did, that their souls have been given over, handed over to the enemy. And it makes things very difficult for them when they try to give their lives to God, when they try to become committed to a ministry. It makes things very difficult for them. And if you don't have a prophetic ministry, then you're not going to be able to pick up on these things and set people free. And instead, they're coming to church, but they're bound, or they're at the altar every Sunday getting saved, every Sunday getting prayer, because they don't have the assurance of knowing that they really belong to God. Now, another thing too that the Lord showed me this morning is that a lot of times the reason why people are bound and they're not getting free and they're at the altar every Sunday is because they have not made a decision to abide in God. Okay, they have not made a decision to abide or to dwell in God. In other words, they really haven't surrendered their lives to God, and sometimes the witchcraft can be at play in their lives. In Psalms 91, it says that he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. But there's an interpretation that says, I think it's the amplified interpretation that says, whose power no foe can withstand. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty God. Or another interpretation says, who remain fixed, who remain stable, who remain fixed, meaning who dwells. People who dwell with God. They made a decision to dwell with God. They made a decision to abide in God. And so these people are given access to dunamis power, which means that they have a power that is working for them and they don't even have to work it. They have a power that is working for them and they don't even have to work it. So the only thing that's going to be able to overthrow witchcraft in your life, to battle witchcraft in your life, to destroy witchcraft in your life. It is the dunamis power of God. It is when you remain, or you dwell, or you abide in God, will you have access to this power. It says, whose power no foe or no witchcraft can withstand. No witchcraft can withstand the dunamis power of God. Let me read it out of the Amplified Bible. Psalms 91, it says, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall remain stable and fixed under the shadow of the Almighty, whose power no foe can withstand, whose power no witchcraft can withstand. That is why it is so important that in today's ministries that you have prophetic ministry at work, pretty much in every area, and in your worship time, in your preaching. Because let me tell you, the spirits of witchcraft is going to begin to fight people so hard, to where either they're not fight them to keep them from going to church, or when they get to church, they're gonna be attacked. There's an attack that's gonna be launched on them to try to get them to leave abruptly. Okay, this is why prophetic ministry is so important. Okay, I'm not talking about now when I say prophetic, I'm talking about people who've been processed, not people who've always had a mic in their hand. People who have been processed, prophetic people, prophets, okay, who can look into the atmosphere, who can pick people up in the atmosphere. Prophetic ministry is when you can pick someone up in the atmosphere, and you can see the attack of the enemy on that person or against that person, and you begin to speak against it and set the captives free. In other words, this is where a lifeline is thrown out to someone. This is when someone knows that God really does see me. God really does see me. Okay, and so this is when deliverance can begin to take place in a person's life. But without prophetic ministry, people are going to be bound up, and it's going to be the same people at the altar Sunday after Sunday. Sunday after Sunday. Why? Because there is no dunamis power at work in the ministry, and you have a ministry that is ignorant to the Satan's devices. And one of his main devices he is using in these days is witchcraft. Many people have witchcraft that is operating in their lives, and they don't even know it. Not something that they've done, but something that their parents have participated in, that put the children in jeopardy. So a lot of times when you have knowledge of these things, you can kind of pick up on these things doing in ministry, especially if you are on a worship team, or even if you are the person preaching or you're the person praying. You can pick up on the attack of witchcraft that he's trying to launch out against people at church, and doing worship, during the time when preaching is coming forth. The prophetic ministry needs to be at play, because if not, you're going to miss a move of God, and your God-ordained church could become a cult. Your God-ordained church could become a cult. You're missing a move of God. Okay? So that was just something that when I was in prayer and meditation this morning, and I picked up on that in the atmosphere. I picked up on that in the spirit realm. I felt like God just really wanted me to speak on that today. So I pray that you all have a blessed Saturday on today. God bless you all.